We will soon be entering the final saga of One Piece, and with everything to come with Shanks, Mihawk, Laugh Tale, the Void Century, this could be the greatest saga in One Piece. So in this video, we're going to be discussing all the different things that we're going to see and that we need to see, how things are going to play out, and what personally I'm looking forward to the most. But before we get into that, I just need you to do me one favor, which is to hit that subscribe button and join the King Pirates crew, because it really helps the channel and I would really appreciate it. With that said though, let's start with the number one thing that I'm looking forward to in the final saga, which was really difficult to pick out because there's so many exciting things coming, which by the way, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on what you're looking forward to the most, so definitely let me know in the comments. But at the end of the day, for me, the number one thing I'm looking forward to the most is Laugh Tale, because Laugh Tale is still the end goal of this journey. The whole point of this story so far is to reach that island. It's the place we're gonna find out pretty much all the answers we've been waiting for. What exactly is the One Piece? Throughout the past 25 years, there's been thousands upon thousands of theories on what the One Piece is and everything about the Void Century, but when we finally get to that island, we will actually know the answer. And it's not even so much figuring out the answer, because I feel like probably there's at least one or two theories out there that are correct, but it's more so just about the journey at this point. When we get to that island, it's just gonna be like one of those I was here moments, just to be there during that moment along with the community and all these people that have been reading consistently for 10, 20, 25, maybe at that point 30 plus years. Even if the One Piece turns out to be not as exciting as what we thought it was, it's still gonna be a big exciting moment just to be part of it. To an extent, it would feel like the end of Wano, which, like, you guys know I've had my issues with Wano and the pacing and the lack of tension, but when Wano finally concluded and we saw the final celebration and the people of Wano getting to just live their lives again and not be starving, I still had a huge smile on my face while I was reading those chapters. I was just really happy and enjoying the chapter, because at the end of the day, even though I had issues with Wano, it was still something we were building up to for pretty much the entirety of the new world for like 500 chapters. So to see it finally conclude and for Luffy and the Straw Hats to reach such a monumental milestone, that just put a smile on my face. And that's exactly what's gonna happen and then some when we get to Laugh Tale and finally find out what the One Piece is. I fully expect all of us to react like Roger and the Roger Pirates did. Not only does Luffy become the Pirate King, the thing that he's been saying for 1,000+ chapters at this point, but other Straw Hats also accomplish their dreams, like Robin figuring out the true history, Frankie to a degree as well, building the ship that reached Laugh Tale, maybe even someone like Sanji when he finds out how to get to the All Blue. And that's the other exciting part about this, is the content that we're gonna find out. The Void Century, the ancient weapons, the Will of D, we're gonna have all the answers. And at the end of the day, one of the best things, if not the greatest thing about One Piece, is the lore. My favorite thing in the story will probably always be the Straw Hats and the camaraderie and getting new crew members and seeing them power up and get their 1v1 fights. I think what really makes One Piece great is this amazing world that Oda has been able to build, and when we find out the true history about everything, it just adds a whole nother layer to the entire world. It's gonna be incredibly hype, just like looking at all the little hints and foreshadowings Oda dropped throughout the entire story, because there's clearly been connections to Joy Boy and the Great Kingdom from like Skypiea, Fishman Island, and Alabasta. Of course, Wano as well, because they were the ones that made the poneglyphs, and we're just gonna find out how all of these things were connected. And in this video, I'm not even gonna try to speculate how all of these things are connected. I could do a whole nother video on that. But honestly, what I'm low-key even more excited about is just how they get to Laugh Tale. What does the island itself look like? Is it in space? Is it underwater? Is it like God Valley? Is it in the bottom of Enies Lobby? There's so many different ways it could go. Personally, I definitely think it's involved with like a natural phenomenon of some sort. So like just even getting onto Laugh Tale is like a journey in itself. Maybe they have to climb waterfalls and go through whirlpools, or maybe go underwater or go into space. You just don't know. And then once they actually get onto the island, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of adventure before they actually find the treasure. One thing I am wondering though is whether or not there's actually going to be some conflict on the island. If I had to bet, I would say yes, because even in the most minor arcs like a Logue Town, you still have some issues with Luffy almost dying and almost getting captured. But if there was ever going to be an arc where there's going to be no conflict and the Straw Hats are just going to be able to find out their information and accomplish their dreams, it would be Laugh Tale. And then from that point on, they could take whatever action comes next and go take down the world government and gather up their allies and whatever. Either way though, out of all the amazing things to come, Laugh Tale and the One Piece has to be my number one thing that I'm looking forward to the most. Coming in at a close second place though is the reunion of Shanks and Luffy, because even though Laugh Tale is the end goal of this entire journey, Luffy's reunion with Shanks is something we've been building up since literally chapter 1 of the entire story. Their promise was what prompted this adventure. The reunion by itself is going to be legendary. We got teased at it during Marineford. We've seen so many times Shanks reacting to Luffy's progression. To see them finally together and reunited and interacting, that's gonna be another one of those I was here moments. By the way, when they reunite, I fully expect them to just go at each other and just start fighting. Like, just imagine Luffy and the Straw Hats finally get to the island. We see Shanks in the distance. He smiles. Luffy sees him. He smiles. And then right away, both of them just dart right at each other. Conquer's Hockey Clash. The sky splits. And then Shanks delivers a one-liner like, ah, okay, so you become a great pirate. Like, bro, you can't tell me you are not gassed just hearing about that scenario. Honestly, however it plays out, I expect it to be fully hype. Beyond just their reunion, though, what happens after could be even more interesting. I'm incredibly excited to meet the other red-hair pirates. How strong are they? What makes them a Yonko crew? And even the characters that we've met before, like the officers of Yasopp and Beckman and Lucky Roo. We've seen them interact a little bit in their personalities, but we still haven't seen how strong they really are. The people in the power scaling community love Ben Beckman. I fully expect to see them actually in action, going all out, maybe against the Blackbeard pirates, maybe against someone else like the world government. But I do think we definitely will see them really going all out and fighting, which is why I really don't like the idea of like them getting defeated by the Blackbeard pirates and like Blackbeard killing Shanks. Because first off, I don't think Luffy needs any additional reasons to like have a hatred against Blackbeard, because Blackbeard already captured Ace and sent him to the Marines. But also, I just want to see the red-hair pirates also get their shine and screen time and see them actually fight. And on top of that, I don't think Oda is gonna kill Shanks or any of the red-hair pirates. Besides that though, there's also the Straw Hat that Luffy's supposed to return, but I think he probably ends up keeping that because that's kind of part of his identity at this point. Shanks probably ends up having a conversation with him like, hey, you earned this at this point, you could just keep this. Another thing I'm really looking forward to is the reunion of Yasopp and Usopp. And I will say with this one, I am a little afraid that I'm gonna be disappointed of what we get out of this interaction, because I recognize I'm definitely hyping it up way too much in my head, but I do think there's just so much potential for this interaction and for Usopp's character. There's so many layers to their relationship. Yasopp was the guy that inspired Usopp to be a brave warrior of the sea and to become a pirate. But of course, we know that Usopp is insecure and doesn't realize that he's already a brave warrior. And of course, his number one coping mechanism for being insecure is to lie to other people, which he definitely will do to Yasopp. But then at the same time, because Yasopp hasn't been with Usopp for a very long time, and the whole reason Usopp started lying was because the death of his mother, which Yasopp wasn't around for, Yasopp probably ends up believing some of Usopp's lies because he probably has done some of the things that Usopp is lying about. So he's gonna be like, ah, yeah, that's right, that's my son Usopp for you. But of course, eventually Usopp can't lie forever and he's gonna have to face the truth. But at the same time, that could be a good moment for him to actually realize that he's great in his own way and that he's already a brave warrior of the sea. You see, I've already got like an entire story in my head and I'm really hyping it up. It's probably not gonna go down exactly like that. I'm probably hyping it up way too much, but I'm still very excited for that interaction. Another interaction I'm really looking forward to though is the Blackbeard pirates and the Straw Hats finally fighting and showing down. And once again, this just shows like how many exciting things we have coming up. Blackbeard is literally the villain I'm looking forward to the most in the entire story, and he's number 3 on this list. But yeah, in the story so far, Luffy hasn't really even confronted Blackbeard yet, and he's already done so many different terrible things. The guy's a demon, his plan is super meticulous as well. But the thing that gets me most excited about this matchup is that Blackbeard is one of the few people that Luffy has actual beef with. Because if you think about all the villains that Luffy has fought, he's fought them because of other people. Villains like Crocodile and Nell, Doflamingo, and even Kaido, Luffy has fought those guys because they did terrible things to his friends. Blackbeard, on the other hand, Luffy needs no extra motivation. He's the guy that captured Ace and got him killed. So the personal motivation for this fight is probably one of the highest for Luffy. And on top of that, we also have the Straw Hat 1v1 matchups that we absolutely should be seeing. As I mentioned earlier, the Straw Hats are my favorite thing in the story. The 1v1s I absolutely live for, like the ones we saw in Alabasta and Enies Lobby. Of course, in the Wano arc, we've gotten some 1v1s and some of them were amazing, like the Zoro and Sanji and Robin fights. But at the same time, some Straw Hats like Brook and Usopp didn't really get fights. Nami's fight wasn't really a fight for her. Jinbei's fight felt more like an info dump, and Sasaki is probably the most boring Tobiropo member out of all of them. So I'm still very much craving 1v1 battles for the Straw Hats, and versus the Blackbeard pirates, that might be the last chance that we get them, because it's pretty much all set up at this point. You got Blackbeard and his 10 Titanic captains, Luffy and his 10 other crew members. Everything lines up perfectly. Even when the Blackbeard pirates were first introduced, their numbers pretty much lined up with the Straw Hats along with their positions on the crew. I think we absolutely have to get these 1v1s, and as a Straw Hat fanboy, I'm incredibly excited. But of course, even besides that, you have the lore behind Blackbeard and the Blackbeard pirates. With Blackbeard, I expect a great backstory. We didn't get the one I was hoping for war with Kaido, but Blackbeard's been a character that's been around for much longer. He has connections to the Rocks Pirates. His plan has always been super meticulous. So I expect the lore and story for him to be very detailed and incredible. And as far as the most anticipated fights go, this is number 1 for me. But after that, we have the number 2 most anticipated fight for me, which is Zoro versus Mihawk. Now, some people might be surprised to see this so high, but this is another thing that's been built up since all the way back in Baradier. Just in terms of seeing Zoro's progression and him winning that battle, it's comparable to Luffy fighting Shanks. Like literally the last time Zoro fought this man, Mihawk busted out a paring knife and just beat his ass. So to see Zoro come this far and defeat Mihawk, defeating his master and achieving his dream, that's going to be a huge moment. As far as Mihawk goes, I do think he really hasn't been showcased too much in the story, which is why not that many people are super high on him. So much so that I've seen a good amount of people that believe that Shiryu is going to beat Mihawk and then Zoro's going to have to defeat Shiryu, which a long time ago, I will admit, I even thought that was not a bad idea. But after thinking about it for a while, that would be kind of bad. Like, this is a fight that we've been building up since Baradier, and for a pretty minor character like Shiryu that has even less screen time than Mihawk to just defeat him and take that title, I don't feel that would be earned. I think it'd be much better just to see Zoro versus Mihawk and how far Zoro has come. Obviously, the two of them are not gonna like fight to death and kill each other, but they're definitely not gonna hold back. The only weird thing about this one is like where exactly it fits into the story, because Mihawk's kind of like solo dolo all by himself. So that's probably also part of the reason people think that Shiryu is gonna kill Mihawk and take that. That way, this plot line just kind of works in with Blackbeard. But I hope it ends up fitting into the story well and doesn't just like get pushed back into like an epilogue or something. That would be the biggest troll ever by Oda, but I don't think that's actually gonna happen. And overall, I think Zoro versus Mihawk is a pretty underrated moment that we will be seeing soon. After that though, we have another thing that I'm definitely overly excited for, and that is Elbaf. And at this point, while I still fully expect Elbaf to happen, and I think it has to happen, I definitely am starting to go into it expecting a little bit of disappointment, because Elbaf for me ties together with Usopp, and it's definitely an arc that's been connected to him, and he's definitely gonna get a lot of focus in that arc. But at this point, with how Wano went down and how we're already entering the final saga, I'm just not sure whether or not he's gonna get the exact amount of focus that I think he will. If I had a wish list I could make for Elbaf, I would hope the Red Hair Pirates and Yasopp are kind of tied together with it, because that could just make Usopp's storyline there so much more interesting. It could also be the place where Usopp achieves his dream, realizing that he's already brave and great in his own way. But even if none of that happens, I still expect Usopp to get some additional shine and focus in the arc. And on top of that, I fully expect Elbaf to have a lot of lore and Oda to have a lot of fun with the Viking theme. The arc also has potential to be a massive arc, not only with the Usopp storylines, but also if you draw from like historical connections like Ragnarok, it could get absolutely crazy. Clearly, Oda is already setting some stuff up as well with Prince Loki that he introduced back in Whole Cake Island. If I had to guess at this point, I don't expect Elbaf to be like a Wano-sized arc or anywhere near that, and I just hope it delivers greatness at however long we spend there. Moving on to the next topic though, we have the revolutionaries and the world government, and honestly, it feels like they should be higher because they could be like the last thing that we see in the story. Obviously, there's definitely a lot of lore related to this. We're gonna find out more about the world government, the Gorosei, and Imu. I know a lot of people are definitely gonna be way more excited about this than I am. The people love the Gorosei and all the lore behind them, but personally, I feel like I'm a little down on the Gorosei right now because I feel like they've been just a little incompetent. It just feels like they kind of put everything off to the last moment and just try to fix it at the end, and it just doesn't make sense. But overall, I'm still very excited to find out more about them, and also Imu as well. Who are they? So I'm expecting a lot of big information when we get to the world government, but I'm low-key more excited to find out more about Dragon. Dragon really has not gotten a ton of screen time, which is why in terms of popularity, you seem like much lower than someone like Shanks, who is just as mysterious. But I'm still really intrigued to find out more about his family, maybe Luffy's mother, his relationship with Garp, how strong he actually is. As far as fights go, the number one thing I'm looking forward to here is the Straw Hats versus the Admirals. At this point, I think this is definitely gonna happen because everything is just kind of perfectly lining up. Luffy versus Akainu, I think, is definitely gonna go down because similar to Blackbeard, Akainu is one of the only people that Luffy has actual beef with, but probably even more than Blackbeard because he actually killed Ace and damn near killed Luffy. To this day, Luffy has a giant scar on his chest to remind him that he almost died to this guy. So I think those two will end up fighting. Now that we know Green Bull's a menace, him and Zoro fighting makes sense, and then Sanji versus Kizaru, I always wanted to see that fight. So as far as fights go, the Straw Hats versus the Admirals is definitely the number one thing I'm looking forward to here. But yeah, once again, with the world government and the revolutionaries, there's just a lot of potential with ancient weapons getting involved and all the lore that we're gonna find out. There are some things that do need to get addressed, like Sabo and Vivi and what's gonna happen with them. But even though this topic is near the bottom, I'm still very much excited for for it. Besides that though, I got one more bonus topic, and that is Lodestar, which I think a lot of people overlook. For those of you that don't remember, Lodestar is actually the last island on the log pose. It's the island that we thought was Laughtail pretty much for most of the story. And the other interesting part about it is the Roger Pirates were the only one to ever reach that island. So there's definitely some mystery surrounding it, and also Crocus like kind of directed them towards that island as well, even though he's been to Laughtail himself. So he definitely didn't do that for no reason. Inuarashi even said it himself, so I fully expect the Straw Hats to go to Lodestar at some point. And even if it ends up being this really quick side thing, we still need some answers like why did nobody else get there, what's on that island. My personal wish is that we get a lot of Nami focus on that island because she's been the navigator guiding everybody towards this destination. But maybe that doesn't happen, but I'm still looking forward to it. That's gonna do it for this video though. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the video, so please drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. If you don't want to make it easy, behind me this whole time has been a One Piece box set that I just got. You have to guess which box set it is. If you guess it wrong, you have to like, subscribe, and watch the next video. And the answer is the first box set.